read, this is the biggest team in the whole Microsoft. It's also the most profitable product that they have. And they have only about, well, not only about, just over 1,000 employees, developers working on Microsoft Office. That's a lot more than they have working on Windows. You might be surprised by it, but the figure I got once is people who work on Windows is just like a few hundreds of people working on it. And the Office team, they have over 1,000 people, and they have something which kind of works. I mean, I'm not saying Microsoft Office doesn't work. I'm saying it's completely incompatible with just about everything. They try to make it even less compatible each release. It doesn't. It takes up too much in terms of resources. It costs. Lots of people cannot afford this type of thing, and of course, you don't have compatibility within the same application. If a person uses an old version of the same thing, they apparently don't plan things correctly. They don't actually do the specifications correctly, and people cannot share documents, so they have to buy all the latest versions. And I don't really think that's coincidence. And so this type of team has a reasonably okay product, but they have to make sure lots of people still buy it so they can get their wage, and they have all those tricks and trying to put things in OXML, so it kind of gets to be called like an open standard. Obviously, it's just the same proprietary thing, but the intention there is to make sure they can still extract lots of money using the same old business model, even when people can just use something for free on the web. And then you have the things with the ribbon, when they change things just for the sake of changing it, because a person never wants to buy something which on the package looks exactly the same. You tell people, well, it's a bit faster, or we optimized a few things, or it's more compatible. People just look at the the skin of the thing, and you just think that's pretty much the same. Why should I buy this thing? So in the case of, there is this company, they have all these developers, they have something that basically is implementing features beyond what people would use, and they've not been using any features which haven't been implemented maybe 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago. Things were implemented since then, but people don't know how to use them. They'll never use these things. So that's it.
Well, I'd be just staying on with what we're trying to do is give a quick sort of roundup and a quick view of quite a few things in the news. So I'll just throw another one to you, which probably really doesn't have much of a talking point as far as I can see. We've had another scene site shut down, according to an article by Torrent Freak. I don't know if that was anything you want to comment on. Well, I know that this the scene, which I'll explain to the listeners in a second. If that's anything you want to make a response on. The top site was called Swan, and I'll just give a few definitions to listeners who might not know what some of these terms are. Was there any comment you wanted to make first, Roy?
I've read quite a few things about sites being shut down, or tools being illegalized, or people having to report things to certain companies, or even what I read about today was a bit strange. It was apparently they want to have an automated tool to warn people if they download something copyrighted. So they have this vision of people getting something pop up in the, obviously on the computer is supposed to check what they download, so they have to install some program. And this program is going to kind of warn them or to report them to someone when they download a certain file, or
people are going to download this willingly, are they?
No, they've been talking about it since like 2005. It'll never happen. If you try to force people to basically help some companies secure their basically dying business models and what they claim to be declining revenue, the revenue doesn't decline. It's just a lie. They just keep saying this stuff.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you look at Hollywood's own figures, and I know we repeatedly say both to each other we shouldn't rely on figures, but when Hollywood are saying we've made X amount of money on this particular product, especially films like Avatar and all that, and you look at what the revenue was, say, 15, 20 years ago, it's massive compared to what it was. There's certainly no evidence on the figures that Hollywood themselves are releasing that piracy is having any effect. But that's maybe sort of a topic for another day.
The story told to the shareholders is always very different from the stories they want to tell to the government, because they want to serve protectionism. They want people to serve them. It's got all kinds of in economics, it's got all sorts of names what they try and do, and the sort of tax they try to impose, based on the fact that they supposedly deserve certain things and certain sales, or, they have to be an integral part of society, and therefore the government has to support them. When it comes to telling their shareholders, how they do in terms of performance, they have to say very good news, and they give them all the good numbers. So both of them have to be public, yeah. So what they tell the sub stories they tell to the government has to be put out, but they also have to tell to the shareholders as public companies what happens. And you kind of look at the two things and hold on a second, something's not right here. They tell different stories depending on the audience. But again, that's Hollywood, so I suppose that's quite natural for them to do.
I mean, just very quickly for this, and really, the whole topic of copyright infringement is one that I certainly don't want to be getting embroiled in, because rights and wrongs of it and whatever people's view is, it's not really relevant to the show itself. But just really to sort of outline the terms, a scene site or a top site is usually a term for an elite area of the internet, maybe a server, which hosts the latest in alleged copyright infringing material. That might be movies, it might be cracks for games, etc., etc. And basically, this is another site that's been taken down. It's called, the term that's used to encompass this whole sort of world of copyright infringement is called the piracy pyramid, where it's alleged that there's a top scene at the very top, funny enough, which will pass down all these files and they get filtered onto BitTorrent trackers, and then the home user gets hold of it when they'd go onto Pirate Bay or whatever. It's a very interesting subject, but it's one that probably take up about 15 to 20 episodes just to go through all the different facets of the scene. What I would say is that I think far too much attention's drawn to these top sites, as it were, as if there's some sort of special, unique area where only the privileged and elite go to, and it's not. Let's face it. Regardless of whether you agree copyright infringement is a legitimate civil crime or whether you don't, we're talking movies and games here, and people copying them at the end of the day, and really that's nothing particularly fascinating or amazing, because people have been doing it since the first twin deck tape recorders came out. So I'll leave it there. But staying on the subject of copyright, something actually quite interesting, which I think, Roy, you'll understand that I've been following for quite a bit, and it's a news article on the excellent Torrent Freak, which I'm citing here, from the excellent story involving ACS Law. Now, for those that didn't follow it, ACS Law was one of the companies who was sending out what was dubbed as speculative invoicing, where they would accuse or allege that your IP had been involved in infringing copyright, and would offer to settle with you out of court for a sum around the sort of region of £400-500. There was a bit on the letter that would say that obviously if you didn't want to settle and that you wanted to dispute your innocence, there was a possibility of a court case, and it would quote a lot of civil legislation and copyright law in the hope, I believe, to try and get people to pay up into an early settlement, because in my view the last thing that these people wanted was you to actually go to court. Now, to make matters worse, the ACS Law, which is a single man operation apparently, Andrew Crosley is a sole solicitor for that particular firm. To make matters worse, it was the subject of a denial of service attack, which brought the site down. Now, I reported on this a few episodes ago. I think it was around about episode 8, and it successfully brought the site down, along the lines of the ones that you see in support of WikiLeaks that were targeting like the credit card companies, etc., etc. What this denial of service attack did, though, was quite unexpected. When it brought the ACS Law servers down, when the administrator reinitialized them, he or she didn't adequately secure the system when putting it back online, and subsequently released all the emails that were on the server to the general public, where anybody can access them. Of course, it didn't take the people behind the denial of service attack long to realise this, and these emails were then subsequently copied and put onto BitTorrent trackers all around the world to distribute. And they released quite a few interesting details. Of course, they breached the privacy of a lot of people, because there was some very distressing letters where people had been accused of sharing maybe an adult title, and very desperate to prove their innocence and protest their innocence, and people that were generally hard up and maybe didn't have any money, and were very, very frightened by the letter that they received. But as a result of that, there was rather a big scandal of sorts and it hit the mainstream press. And recently it was announced that ACS Law were only going to take a final 27 people to court. The details on these 27 people was very scarce, and it's not sure what, or I'm certainly not sure what they were